Was the moon landing staged? We all know NASA went to the moon in 1969. The famous Neil Armstrong was the first person to land on the moon. But have you ever thought all these things could be a lie? Has someone just said a big lie to you? Could it really be true? All NASA moon landing theories could be a lie? Well, let us find the truth about it. Watch this video till the end, and don't forget to subscribe. On July 20th, 1969, millions of people crowded around their TVs to see two American astronauts do something that had never been done before. They were the first humans to walk on the moon. Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin made history by being the first humans to set foot on the moon while outfitted in cumbersome spacesuits and carrying backpacks full of oxygen tanks. After Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to set foot on the moon, Armstrong made the now famous statement, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Nevertheless, several facts point to the possibility that the moon landing was recorded here on Earth. If you're interested in finding out whether or not the moon landing was faked, I'll watch this video till the end. The touchdown of a spacecraft on the surface of the moon is referred to as a moon landing. This encompasses both crewed and uncrewed missions as well as robotic ones. The Soviet Union's Luna 2 probe was the first man-made object to make contact with the surface of the moon on September 13, 1959. On July 20th, 1969, the Apollo 11 mission from the U.S. was the first crewed mission to successfully land on the moon. Between the years 1969 and 1972, the United States carried out a total of 6 crewed landings, in addition to a large number of uncrewed landings. However, between the years of 1972 and 2013, the United States did not carry out any soft landings. So, what is the concept of the conspiracy theories? Conspiracy theories about the moon landing assert that some or all aspects of the Apollo program and the accompanying moon landings were hoaxes organized by NASA, potentially with the assistance of other organizations. These theories suggest that NASA lied to the public about these events. The most prominent argument is that the 6 crewed landings that occurred between 1969 and 1972 were all staged, and that the 12 Apollo astronauts never set foot on the moon in reality. Since the middle of the 1970s, numerous organizations and individuals have asserted that NASA and others knowingly deceived the general public into believing that the moon landings took place by fabricating, tampering with, or destroying evidence such as photos, telemetry tapes, radio and TV transmissions, and moon rock samples. These claims have been brought forward by NASA itself. There is a significant amount of evidence from third parties supporting the landings, and the accusations of a hoax have been refuted in detail. Since the late 2000s, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, or LRO, has been taking high-definition photographs of the Apollo landing sites. These photographs have been able to depict the lunar module descent stages as well as the traces that the astronauts left behind. In 2012, photos were made public indicating that 5 of the 6 American flags that had been planted on the moon during the Apollo missions were still standing. The Apollo 11 spacecraft is an exception to this rule since it was blown over by the Lunar Module Ascent Propulsion System and has been lying on the lunar surface ever since. More than 40 years' worth of public attention has been maintained in the many conspiracy theories. Opinion surveys have been conducted in a variety of locales, and the results have shown that between 6 and 20% of people in the United States, 25% of people in the United Kingdom, and 28% of people in Russia think that the crewed landings were staged. Even as late as 2001, the documentary Conspiracy Theory, Did We Land on the Moon?, aired on the Fox television network with the assertion that NASA staged the first moon landing in 1969 to win the space race. We Never Went to the Moon, America's $30 billion Swindle was a book that was self-published in 1976 by Bill Kaysing, a former U.S. Navy officer who had a Bachelor of Arts in English. This book is considered one of the first and most influential books on the subject of a moon landing conspiracy. Kaysing was employed as a senior technical writer by Rocketdyne in 1956, although he had no experience with rockets or technical writing. Rocketdyne was the firm that constructed the F-1 engines used by the Saturn V rocket. Up until 1963, he was in charge of the technical publications section of the company's propulsion field laboratory. Discussion over the possibility that the moon landings were staged was successfully kicked off by the many charges included in Casing's book. According to the claims made in the book, the probability of a crewed landing on the moon being successful was calculated to be 0.0017%, and although the USSR was closely monitoring the mission, it would have been much simpler for NASA to fake the moon landings than it would have been for them to travel to the moon. In 1980, a group known as the Flat Earth Society claimed that the moon landings were a hoax perpetrated by NASA. According to this theory, the landings were staged by Hollywood with support from Walt Disney and were based on a screenplay written by Arthur C. Clarke and directed by Stanley Kubrick. Folklorist Linda Day suggests that the writer-director Peter Hyam's film Capricorn 1 from 1978, which depicts a hoaxed journey to Mars in a spacecraft that looks identical to the Apollo craft, may have given a boost to the popularity of the hoax theory in the post-Vietnam War era. The general public in the United States tended to mistrust official narratives after the Watergate scandal, which is where Day draws a comparison to other views during that period. According to what Day has said, the mass media propel these half-truths into a type of twilight zone where individuals may make their assumptions seem as if they are facts. People who are not properly guided tend to suffer from the negative effects of the media. Andrew Chaikin writes in his book A Man on the Moon, which was initially released in 1994, that at the time of Apollo 8's lunar orbit mission in December 1968, similar conspiracy beliefs were already in circulation. The United States flag that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin buried on the moon can be seen blowing in the wind in the video that was captured. However, there is no atmosphere on the moon, thus that scenario cannot occur there. According to scientific evidence, the flag did not flap. It didn't move until the two astronauts touched it and slammed it into the ground, and that was the only time it moved. These light oscillations are soon slowed down by the atmosphere of our planet. On the moon, however, when there is no atmosphere, the oscillations continue for a far longer period. In addition to this, a cross strut was braced in the flag so that it seemed as if it was flapping in the wind. In the photos of the moon, there are no stars to be observed. That means they were conceived and birthed in a workshop. According to scientific research, it is a well-known fact that there is a breathtaking panorama of the night sky and other celestial bodies while one is on the moon, since there's no atmosphere there to obstruct their vision. On the other hand, there was never a nighttime on the moon while the astronauts were there. The dim light of the stars was obscured since the surface of the moon, the lander, and the astronauts were all strongly lighted by the sun. This might be one reason why the stars could not be seen. A well-delineated letter C on a rock and another letter C on the ground close to it may be seen in an Apollo 16 mission record shot. This is just similar with certain film props, according to French hoax expert Philippe Leroux. The massive boulder on the left foreground is plainly marked with a big capital C, says Ralph Rene. A wrinkle in the bottom right corner is formed by soaking a folded newspaper. This makes it a flap rock, which employees working at Hollywood studios toss at tourists. They were formerly created from wet newspaper and paste and had comparable flaps. Stagehands often lay stage pebbles over similarly lettered markers provided by the set designer. Did NASA actually transport phony boulders and stage workers to the moon? No, the moon landings were carried out, and even the Soviets at the time did not cast doubt on the events. And it was significant throughout the time of the Cold War, as in addition, about 400,000 individuals participated in the Apollo missions in some capacity. As a result, there was an adequate number of witnesses, and certainly one of them would have spoken out at some time. So what are your thoughts? Please share your thoughts with us in the comment box below. And that's all for today's video, folks. Like it and share it with your friends, and also please subscribe to our channel to watch more interesting videos like this one. Thanks for watching.